This is a number 5 guard on my Wall 1919 senior clipper. So now what we're gonna do is actually put the shape of the haircut in before we start to fade. I like to call this working on the blend. I see a lot of haircuts that will have the established length on top, which would be the number 5, and then they'll go into the fade, but the blend area will be terrible. So since we want this haircut to look good through and through, to transition from the top to the fade, we gotta work on the blend. So I'm doing that by knocking this hair down with the grain with a number 2 guard on my Andis Master. So I started with the number 2 all the way open with the grain. The reason I cut with the grain is because it's going to leave more hair behind than cutting against the grain. So in order to blend, you want to cut with the grain. To remove the most amount of hair, you want to cut against. And as I get lower to the area where I'm actually going to do the fade, as you see, I'm closing up the clippers, and then I'll put in my guideline so that we can begin to actually put the fade in. So with the burst fade mohawk, you start off with the guideline in this circular motion as you see it around his ear. And now I have my clippers all the way open. This is my Andis Master with no guard. And once we do that, then we'll begin to take out that initial guideline that we put in with our trimmers. With the clippers all the way closed, closed being the shortest length that our clippers can cut without a guard or even with the guard. And to open the guard up, it would be the opposite direction. So as we move higher up into this area where we're fading, we're gonna open the clippers up a little more until it's faded out. Then we'll go to the next section. So when cutting hair, it's really up to you the steps that you take. For me, I like to kind of detail as I go along. Some people just put the lines in, begin to take them out, get like a rough draft in, and then they'll detail afterwards. It just depends on how I'm feeling that day, or even on that particular haircut, what I'll do. So this guard right here is a throwback. This is the number 1 guard that came with my original Andis Master, the corded version, back when I was in barber school 11, 12 years ago. So if you guys don't recognize it, that's why. I know most people, they use the double magnetic guards, and that's what I usually use. But for this particular cut, I think I had just found these in my drawer, and I'm like, oh, my old guards. But what I realized is now that I've cut with the other guards so much, these guards do work different. They leave more hair behind, so you have to go over it much more. It's almost like cutting with a fast feed or something, just from the guard. Like the difference that it makes is crazy. It's night and day. So the purple guards take off more hair. Don't ask me how or why, it just does. So this is the number 0 guard, and I started with it closed, and as I go up higher into the fade, I'm opening up the clippers a little more at a time. 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, until I see that it looks good. And as I said, I'm detailing as I go along. So once I notice that it's not removing any more hair, I popped off the guard and opened up the clippers all the way and just begin to use the corners of the blade, the first 2-3 teeth, and I'm detailing it out just a little bit more. You see, as I drop down lower, I close the clipper up. And now I cut with the grain to just help it transition a little bit better from that top length into the fade. Like I said, I call this area the blend. So now I'm preparing to edge it up in the back. I'm just kind of debulking the area. I want the edge up to stand out and be nice and clean. So I'm working on that transition down to the lineup area and just knocking some of that hair off, and it's gonna make it pop. See, nice, clean, sharp line. Make sure that you always have your brush when you're edging up, because you want to lay that hair back down, hit it with the trimmers, then you want to hit it with the brush. And I just see some little things that I can clean up. Sometimes I like to finish a whole side of the haircut before moving on to the other side. And now I'll just work on the beard, just throw him a little line in there. I'm gonna hit it with the razor so it doesn't have to be super clean, super sharp. It's kind of like a little rough draft. Switching it up, heading to the other side, we're gonna do the same steps. Start off by debulking. Start off by working on this blend area. This is how we create the transition from the top to the side. Do not neglect this area, guys. This is one of the most important parts of the haircut. Now we put in that guideline, making sure that it looks just like the one on the other side. Setting in our next guideline about 1 inch wide or a finger's width. And now we attack it with the clippers closed all the way. And since we're going to repeat the same exact steps on this side, I definitely want to take out the time to acknowledge what's coming up. I'm excited to bring you guys the return of our series, Best Haircut for Balding Men, Thinning Hair Techniques. We started that series last year and it got a lot of great feedback from customers to barbers themselves, people that just are trying to figure out how they should wear their hair. I've got a lot of customers that found me on YouTube who come to me now because they see that, hey, this guy actually is going to take care of my hair and not just cut it off. Some people are not ready to just cut their hair off. And so if you can have a technique that they can have the best haircut possible and leave the hair that they have, just be able to blend in the balding area or the thinning area, trust me, you'll have customers for as long as they still have their hair. And if you guys don't believe how crucial these videos will be for your career, just listen to this. And I understand some of you guys are really young, but listen to this. Thinning hair is quite common in men, and well over half of all men will show signs of thinning hair by the age of 35. So you might be a 15-year-old barber right now, but one day you're gonna age and your customers will age with you. So stay tuned for those videos that are to come. And if you haven't checked them out already, check out the ones that I have on thinning hair currently. It's a great series. All right, that's enough of that. Okay, back to the haircut. As you can see, we're edging it up in the back and I'm just looking left to right. I'm trying to make sure that both sides are symmetrical. I step back and I look and I comb or brush, whatever you have in your hand, just to keep laying that hair down until it looks good, until it's even all the way around. And then we switch up and go to the side. So starting in the C cup area, some people, they start at the top and then connect it from the bottom. Some people go all the way through. It's completely up to you. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Just make sure that it's clean and it's not pushed in too much. So I'm just using the corner of the blade, as you can see, and just kind of drawing it in. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now we can get to the fun stuff. So check it out. I'm gonna debulk that area the same way I did in the back, just taking the tips off and just kind of knocking it down so that it'll blend in. And speaking of thinning hair, look at my guy. So as you can see, his hair is starting to take like a rounded shape in the corners and around the vertical bar. So what I'm doing now is creating what I call a ghost line. You see, it's not completely full all the way through, but I'm still going to edge it up as if it is. I'm not going to go up into the lighter spots because as you can see, the more that I go over it, it starts to look darker without me having to push in the corners at all. So I'm able to leave it more natural and not take his hair back. And so he's going to be a happy customer walking up out of the shop. He didn't need any enhancements. He just needed someone who knew the techniques to use. And that's just one of the type of things that you'll learn in the series. So make sure you guys check it out. Best Haircut for Balding Men, Thinning Haircut Techniques series. And as you're edging up, just make sure that you're using your mirror. If you don't have a mirror, just step back off of them a little bit so that you can see whether it's symmetrical on both sides. And so I'm looking, just trying to make sure that it is good as possible. So now I go in with the razor. As I said, I didn't really do a super sharp line initially on the beard because I know I'm going to follow it with the razor. And my trimmers are 0 gap, so they do a pretty good job of knocking off all the little stubble. So now we're just applying a little product and we're gonna sponge him up and he's gonna be good to go. But you see how you can't even tell that he's really thinning anymore.